Project Search is a work-based program for students with disabilities who are about to transition out of high school into the workforce. And the end goal is employment. It's just a better opportunity for them to get that, gainful employment versus if they just graduate high school on their own trying to look for a job independently. This program allows the services and providers to help them with that assistance. The process starts whenever they're going to be a senior or what is considered their senior year in high school. Their teachers do a lot of the promoting of the program and do the application process with them and do a lot of the pre-selection before we ever get them. So they kind of determine who would be eligible for the program. They have them fill out an application, and then once we have their application, then we set up an interview and a skills assessment and get to meet them, and then we decide from there who would qualify for the program.
So those skills assessments are workstations that we set up that are very similar to the jobs that they're going to be doing in their internship. And so they might be weighing some packets of salt, and they might clean tables, and they might push a patient in a wheelchair. Not really a patient, but another employee will be in the wheelchair. They'll move a bed and dust and use a mop and all those things. So we want them to get a real idea of what they'll be doing, and then it also helps us as the interviewers decide what areas are they going to be successful in. So we certainly don't want to put them in an area where they're not going to be successful. The initial process when the student is picked is they will receive an offer letter, or an acceptance letter, if you will, explaining to them what their next steps are. Those next steps are very similar to what a new hire would do when they're coming on board with us as an employee. We want the students to have that same experience that as a job applicant would have, because our goal at the end is to get them hired somewhere. If it's not with Forrest General, then somewhere in the community.
Our day-to-day basis is just busy from the moment they get here. They come in excited. They all arrive on their different school buses. So the hospital in the front looks totally different in the morning. It's not just visitors coming in their cars. You see school buses. They arrive here. We come to the classroom, and we spend about an hour of instruction time in the classroom. After that hour, they go out for 4 hours into their internship. And while they're there, they do breaks, lunch, all of their skills trainings they do while they're there. At the end of that 4 hours, they come back to us for the classroom just to kind of recap, and then we just load back up on the bus and their day's over. They go back to their schools and then they go home from there. Every day we watch a segment called CNN 10 that kind of gives them a little daily briefing of some kind of news story that's going on, and what we call elevator talk, where they have something that they can actually talk with adults about in the break room or while they're working or with patients. So it gives them a little more worldly knowledge of what to talk about. While they're in their internship, it's just a wide variety of skills. All of them come back with different skill sets. Some of them would kind of, bleed to the next and kind of, go back and forth and go to the next skill. But all the way, communication's one that was in all of them. You have to be successful at communicating your needs, your wants, and then also the two-way conversation that takes place with your coworker or a patient if you have that encounter. But then the skill set after that is just strictly independent for the different skills. Respiratory required a different skill set than transportation, and vice versa. Once we get them in the classroom, our first 3 weeks are dedicated to classroom only, and we concentrate on a lot of skills. We practice the glove with the hand washing, the things that would be universal in all of the internship sites. We do a lot of that stuff. We do a lot of the team building, getting to know you. We do a lot of maneuvering of the hospital, getting to know our way around, accessing the elevators, how to get to and from our different departments back to the classroom, to the cafeteria. So a lot of map, kind of maneuvering. Then after that 3 weeks, they go to their first rotation, our internship, which takes 10 weeks. After the first 10 weeks, they come back to the classroom for 1 more week, and we just kind of gather them back in. They share their knowledge with their classmates, what they experienced, what they could do better, where they're excited to go next. They do another 10-week internship, a week back in the classroom, and then the final one for another 10 weeks, and then graduation and job search. When we first started the program initially, I think we started with 5 departments. And over time, we had grown up to 10 and then back down to 9 just because of space, really. But the first 5, really accepted them right away. And then I think once everybody in the hospital saw the kids and saw what they were capable of, I made them question, like, where could I use one and how could I benefit from having an intern? Where could the intern come in and help our department with productivity so we could take somebody from a certified staff position and have an internship come in and pick up some of that heavy, caseload and do it. So I think that's where the other ones came in. They thought, well, we could do that. Like once they saw them and accepted them, it just made them more aware and more familiar and a little comfortable to have an intern in their department.
Initially, I think we were all a little nervous, didn't really know what to expect, but those nerves quickly wore off because we had Hoy as our first one, and he just kind of, made it easier for everybody. So I think by the end of the second week, we were real comfortable. They were real comfortable coming in. They knew exactly what to do, how to get our day started, and I think it turned out great.
We were kind of chosen, but individuals within the apartment, we got to volunteer. So I was very I was going for it because I'd always wanted to do it, and so I was very excited about it.
The first rotation of Project Search students, they reached out to everybody in the hospital as far as leadership, and I chose not to respond because I wasn't quite sure what to do. The area in which we work is very highly clinical, and for someone coming into a new program, we weren't sure what type of disabilities these people would have and how we'd be able to accommodate them. So I was very nervous because I didn't want to bring somebody in and then just them sit there and do nothing. What I did is invited Heather out to come follow one of our therapists for the day. And she got to see what they did as a respiratory therapist and our department, and really we worked together to see what we could do to develop bringing them into our office because we wanted to, we just didn't know the right way for the safety of them, the safety of our patients, what to do. So we were hesitant, there's no doubt about that, but we wanted to make sure that we made an impact too. I told them we're gonna have somebody that's going to be working with us, gave them some of the ideas of they're gonna work at the desk, help answer phones, help speak with our therapist, help wipe down equipment, organize stuff for us, and then started to let them take ownership of the program. Had no idea that they would be going out, helping doing EKGs, pushing the cart, helping transport patients, helping the therapist put the equipment together, talk to the patients and really make that impact. That was all my staff. And so it was really neat to see them take ownership of what was like a child to them because they truly cared for him.
I really think the hospital staff has really just taken them just under their wings and accepted them so gracefully. Like everyone knows their names, everyone recognizes their shirts. It just, everybody has such a positive outlook on it, has some kind of positive comment to make about one of the kids in the green shirts. Even if they don't know their name, they constantly stop me in the hall and tell me what a good job they're doing and how they saw this and how they saw a patient light up when the green shirt came in. So I've heard nothing but positive feedback about it.
I like to go over and have lunch with the students. Every day they have lunch at the same time in the cafeteria and they sit in the same spot because they like routine. So I'll go over there and have lunch with them. And I've noticed that staff start coming up to them and speaking to them, and they're very friendly. And we had one intern who was working in the cafeteria part, setting up the salad bar, making sure that was all clean, and every day I would see staff coming in and just, when they walk in, they're like, oh, whatever. But when they get to her, they're smiling and they're just thanking her for being there. And it kind of just changes the mood of the cafeteria. We're not there just to eat, we're there to socialize and to come together. And I really loved watching that bloom over the past year.
Really cool to see how, because you could tell a bunch of people had never been around kids with special needs, and so the way that the patients interacted with them, you could see a difference because they would be happy. Like by the end of the trip, they would just talk to them, and sometimes you couldn't understand, but like they would really try their hardest to understand. Right. And I would like kind of interpret everything. So it was really cool to see how people that had never been around kids to like really enjoy their time with them. You could tell that there was just a huge change within it. Everybody, so you'd come in, have like a gloomy day, and then you'd see them, they'd come in at 9 o'clock and everything would change. Everybody would be so happy, it would be upbeat in the office and everything. So it was really fun to see how it changed without the.
One of the ones that kind of sticks out in my mind as a teacher, I've been a special ed teacher for 20 years, I was in the room with one of our transports, and he walked in there, and her husband had been in the hospital, and so she was helping him pack up his things, and we walk in, and the patient transport, introduced, our intern and said, he's going to be working with us. He's, following along with me. He's going to help, get you to your car. And she stopped him and she said, I don't know you, but I used to teach students with disabilities, and this has just made my day to have one of my former students, similar to that, come in and help this. Like, it just, totally made her see things from a different light, that all of her work, had been paid forward also by seeing it happen here at Forrest General. Well, during the start of the third rotation, we were all a little surprised, as our whole community was, I'm sure, with the COVID-19 coming into our area. Actually on CNN 10, we had been seeing it in China, and we had seen all that, and you just never think that it's going to hit hard, and especially hit here in Hattiesburg the way it did. So we weren't able to tell them really goodbye or anything. Like, we were here on a Thursday right before spring break. We knew we had one more day, and that Thursday afternoon was when everything kind of came to light, and I got the word that we couldn't report back to Forrest General that following Friday even. So just having to send the kids a text and a phone call to let them know that their spring break started early, but we're hoping that after spring break and maybe 1 week, we thought initially we would be out, that we would be back after that and just continue as normal, and of course we know that didn't happen. Project Search meant everything to them. You heard so many stories about just the hope it gives, and one of our dads talked about how isolated it is when you find out you're going to have a child with disabilities, how it just affects your friendships, your family, your vacations, all of your daily comings and goings, and just knowing that all of these things you've done for your child for 18, 19, 20 years is finally gonna, pay off for something bigger, as it should, and like it would with your non-disabled, child or friend or family member. It just gave them hope, and it just gave them something positive, and just to know that their child could have a future, as they should. I think graduation, as with anybody, just serves as a closure when they'd been a daily fixture in my life, and me, to them. So just having them in person, hey, we're still in contact, we're still in this together, and we're still gonna make, the best out of the situation.
Project Search has impacted our We Care values, not only the way our employees treat our interns and our patients, but how they treat each other. One of the things I was thinking is, in the hospital setting, we are constantly always working with patients who have different diagnoses and different disabilities, but not on a daily basis do we routinely work side by side with somebody who has the same or similar disability as these interns. And this allows us that opportunity to do that.
Project Search will continue on for next year, whether it's right away at the hospital or it's at one of our school sites until we can get back at the hospital. We're hoping to make it look just exactly as close to what it looked like this year as possible.
We have another group students coming on in August, so we're excited.